Did this ever happen to you? You started playing a game, watching a show, reading a book, and after a few hours you just stopped and didn't continue? This has happened to me dozens of times. Sometimes I just didn't like it or got busy with other things and forgot about it. I've noticed that revisiting something can sometimes transform the experience, often for the better. Giving a piece of media a second, a third, or even a fourth chance has often revealed some truly special experiences for me, and judging by your comments on my Hollow Knight video, I'm not alone. So welcome back to A Second Chance, where I revisit pieces of media that I for whatever reason dropped but want to give another shot. Today it's the much loved Persona 4 Golden. As with Hollow Knight, I will try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. Persona 4 Golden is an overhauled version of the fourth game in the Persona series, a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series. The original version first came out on the PS2 in 2008 and the Golden version on the PS Vita in 2012 and later for current-gen platforms. Genre-wise, I'd describe the Persona series as JRPGs, of course, but they also take some cues from visual novels, definitely. You play as a transfer student who arrives in the little town of Inaba to go to school there for a year and stay with your uncle and cousin. Everything seems fine at first as you start making friends and settling in, until a serial murder killing spree, is that even a word, breaks out right in the peaceful town. As the game progresses, you get to meet all kinds of different people and develop friendships with them, manage your school life and unravel a supernatural murder mystery, battle your way through dungeons in the mysterious world inside a TV, and create various personas with which to fight with. These personas are manifestations of the characters' hidden selves, and the whole game hones in on this concept of shadow personality traits. Feelings and thoughts that you are ashamed to admit are a part of you, and so you suppress them, deny them. If you have watched any kind of mental health or psychology content on YouTube, you may have heard of this concept of shadow work that everyone keeps talking about, like basically facing those painful parts of yourself and accepting them. That is exactly where the themes of Persona 4 strike, and I love this premise. Structurally, the game is divided into these time slots every day, and unless there are specific mandatory events, you get to decide how to use those 1 to 2 slots per day. You can't always do everything either, as friends can be unavailable and certain jobs or clubs are restricted to certain days or weather conditions. So yeah, it's a lot in terms of subject matter, but also as a game, like the variety of parts that Persona juggles, and the game knows this, so it introduces all of its elements slowly and one at a time. So how to manage time, friendships and social links, part-time jobs, school clubs, exams, dungeon crawling, fusing personas, and so much more. That leads to quite some slow-paced opening hours, and I know it can throw off a lot of people. For me that was not the case, but we'll get to that. Persona 4 Golden was just one of those games for me that I really enjoyed but just lost sight of over time. I also never played it regularly, often not playing it for months on end, coming back for a few hours and then just dropping it again, forgetting it. Needless to say, this was not the best way to play it. I think it's something you really need to sink your teeth into, immerse yourself into it, I think, for it to work, really. A big reason why I had such an on and off relationship with the game was that I played it on the PS Vita, and there's maybe a weird thing that's subjective to me, but whenever I had my PC or PS5 or PS4 near me, I always felt more inclined to spend my gaming time on one of those platforms. For some reason, sitting down in front of my desk to play a game seemed more compelling to me than sitting down somewhere else to play on a handheld device. I guess it's just years of conditioning, but also the fact that you have a much wider selection of games on these platforms and also are able to play on a much bigger screen. But then again, a game like Persona, I feel, is really made for a handheld device. It's perfect for a long train ride, for example. So I decided to give it another shot on the Vita as well. I dropped into my old save file of about 25 hours, started playing it again, felt super lost, so I made a new save file, started from scratch, went through all of that again. Now I have over 60 hours of total playtime combined with these two save files, and I haven't finished it yet, but even though I have some issues with it, man, if it isn't worth the ride.
After hanging out with Nanako-chan, I feel even stronger that we have to solve this case. Okay!
I am delighted to make your acquaintance.
Look on your face.
So yes, let's get this out of the way. I had a blast with Persona 4. I haven't finished it yet, like I said, because this game is massive, but I think it's one of those games that really needs to be this long to make it feel like the journey, the second life even that it is. The most compelling part of this journey, to my surprise, was not the dungeon crawling and combat, but actually the school life and managing the social life. Just spending time on different activities, hanging out with friends, doing part-time jobs, preparing for exams and fusing personas, that's the part that hooked me. These activities themselves are fun, but the structure of the game makes this decision-making process of what to spend the limited time slots on even more meaningful, and I love that. It also made me reflect again on how I manage my own time, which is a good throwback to my last video. But all of that is not to say that the action side of this game is bad, even though it was the part I was most apprehensive about going in. Before I first tried this game, games with turn-based combat just didn't appeal to me. To be blunt, it looked boring to me, despite having played some Pokemon games as a child. Imagine my shock then when I discovered that turn-based combat can, in fact, be fun, and such was the case with Persona 4. I love to choose between all different personas, fusing them and trying out new ones, try out different strategies, party setups, and you might see where I'm going with this. The part that I enjoyed the most about it was not the actual combat, but the preparation. The fights themselves are fine, no, they're good, but crawling through the dungeons can feel repetitive and grindy, and many of the main bosses, on normal difficulty at least, expect you to grind a bit more, which I don't like that, and it kind of drags down the enjoyment of the combat a bit, even if, you know, discovering weaknesses and dealing with certain enemies and finding out their attack patterns, it's still fun, but that brings it down. Both of these parts of the game, the dungeon crawling and the school life, are both packed with great music, so much style and a playful vibe that can quickly turn serious, heartwarming, heartbreaking, or even straight up uncomfortable when it wants to. So this is the part I really want to talk about, because this game can feel actually extremely uncomfortable at times, specifically all the moments with the characters' shadow selves. I don't want to go into details or spoilers here, but it deals with some difficult stuff like sexualization of underage students and homophobia and stuff like that. What I find impressively mature about this game then is its attitude to difficult topics like these. So while these shadow selves objectify the real characters in more or less explicit ways, the game goes to great lengths to humanize these characters afterwards. Yeah, the writing's clunky at times, I won't deny that, but the characters feel so much more real and believable after these tough moments. So at a first glance this game would seem like a total anime cliche where all the underage girls are sexualized and it's super like immature and weird, for lack of a better description. So at first glance it may seem like the game is promoting things like pedophilia and homophobia among other things, but I need to reiterate this. The game intentionally brings up uncomfortable things and topics like that, clearly presents them in a negative way, only to then discuss how characters actually feel about them and put their struggle and personality into the spotlight. With a thematic core like this, people facing their shadow selves, their darkest thoughts, their greatest fears, bringing in difficult topics like these is honestly essential for this to work, and I think that Persona 4, for the most part at least, handles this with care. Nonetheless, this is still a game that definitely wants to create a male teenage fantasy. You can relive school life, you can enter relationships, and of course, since the main characters are mostly teenagers, there are plenty of immature, goofy and awkward moments, which just makes the game more authentic in my view. I know this has been said to death, but yes, these characters really feel like a group of friends that could actually exist, and can already feel that by the end, when I finish this game, I will start missing these characters dearly, because I just like them so much. So yeah, that's Persona 4, and again, I really like this. It's so impressive how ambitious Persona really is when you think about it. There are so many different paths to this game and they all somehow work together. As I've said, I don't think it's without its flaws, particularly in its combat and dungeon pacing, sometimes its writing. All of that, however, does not diminish how great of an experience this is. And it's really not hard to see why this series has blown up in popularity the way that it has. I can definitely see myself playing Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Royal in the future, if I can. Even just to see how they handle the themes, the premise and the structure of this game differently. And of course just to hear what incredible music and style they have to offer. That's all I have to say on this for now. Leave a like and a comment if you want to see more of this format, and share your experience with Persona if you have some. Thank you for watching, and hopefully until next time.